In the previous video, we looked at using color maps to enhance data visualization. In this video, we will learn how to understand the scatter plots and use histograms. Scatter plots are very often encountered around as they are the most common plot to visualize the relationship between two variables. If we want to take a quick look at the data and see if there is any relation between those, we will draw a quick scatter plot. For scatter plots to exist, we must have one variable that can be systematically changed by, for example, experimenter, so we can inspect the possibilities of influencing another variable. We want to see, for example, how two events are affected by each other or if they are affected at all. This visualization is especially useful on large sets of data where we cannot make any conclusions by looking at the data in the native form, i.e. when it's just numbers. Correlation between values, if there is any, can be positive and negative. Keep in mind though that even if the scatter plot displays correlation between two variables, that correlation might not be a direct one. There might be a third variable that influences both the plotted variables. So the correlation is just a case that the plotted values are correlated with that third variable. In the end, the correlation might just be apparent and no real relation exists behind it. With this code sample, we'll demonstrate how scatter plots can explain the relationships between variables. The data we use is obtained using the Google Trends web portal, where one can download the CSV file containing normalized values of relative search volumes for given parameters. Here's the content of it. We need to perform these steps. We first use a cleaned dataset of Google Trends search volume for 1 year for keyword flowers. We will import this dataset into variable D. Next, we use a random normal distribution of the same length, 365 data points, as our Google Trends dataset. This will be dataset D1. Then create a figure containing 4 subplots. In the first subplot, scatterplot D and D1, while in the second subplot, plot scatterplot of D1 with D1. In the third subplot, render scatterplot of D1 with inverted D1. And in the fourth subplot, render scatterplot of D1 with similar dataset constructed of D1 plus D. This code will illustrate the relation as we explained them before in this video. So let's now move ahead and run this file. So as you run this file, you'll get this figure on your screen. The sample we see clearly displays if there are any correlation between the different datasets, while the second subplot shows ideal or perfect positive correlation of dataset D1 with D1 itself. We can see that the fourth subplot hints that there is a positive correlation, although not ideal. We constructed this dataset from D1 and D, i.e. random to simulate two similar signals where the second one is D plus D1 has certain randomness or noise in it, but it still can be comparable with the original D signal. Let's now dive into some additional information. We can also add histograms to scatter plots in such a way that they can tell us more about the data plotted. We can add data horizontal and vertical histograms to show frequencies of data points on the X and Y axis. Using this, we can at the same time see the summary of the whole dataset, i.e. histogram, and individual data points, i.e. scatterplot. Here is the example of the code to generate a scatter-histogram combination using the same two datasets we introduced in this video. The meat of the code is the scatter-hist function that is given here to be reusable to different datasets, trying to set some of the variables based on the dataset provided. We start with the usual imports. This is the definition of our function to generate a scatter-histogram given x, y dataset and optionally a fig size parameter. Now we proceed with the loading of the data and function call to generate and render the desired chart. Now we go ahead and run this code. So as you run this, you get this figure on your screen. Cool. In this video we've learned the use of scatter plots and histograms to find correlations between different variables. In the next video we'll be plotting the cross-correlation between two variables.